Joining me in the studio is Douglas Herbert, our international affairs commentator. Doug, what exactly is an arraignment and what are we going to see, and more importantly, what are we not going to see later today?
Great question, right, Annette? Because there are all these sort of legal terms thrown around, and I know that, not just looking in from the outside, Americans sometimes ask themselves, what does it mean being arraigned? What it really means is he's literally there's a two-step process of what's going to happen today with Donald Trump when he goes down his motorcade from Trump Tower in Midtown Manhattan down to the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. The courthouse, the Manhattan Criminal Courthouse, also happens to house the district attorney's office, the Manhattan district attorney, Alvin Bragg, the one who has indicted Donald Trump on what's expected to be 34 counts. Initially, Donald Trump will show up at that courthouse under a phalanx of very heavy security, surrounded by Secret Service, the likes of which this courthouse really hasn't seen before, perhaps the most prominent defendant in any case to come before that court and step into that building. He will first initially go to be processed, and that is a pretty straightforward procedure. He's going to be fingerprinted. There's been speculation, will or he will not have a mugshot taken. The mugshot is obviously the police photo of your official processing. The reason it might not be done is a few years back, New York actually passed a law banning the release of these types of mugshots, these types of photos, unless the police determine, law enforcement, that there's a specific and necessary law enforcement reason for doing so. He might be able to evade that. They're afraid of leaks as well with the mugshot. Probably won't be handcuffed. A lot of this stuff has been negotiated behind the scenes beforehand, although some people have speculated Trump wanted to be handcuffed. One U.S. paper saying he wanted to put himself out there as the victim, the martyr. He thought the handcuffs would reinforce that. After the processing, which will take place in the Manhattan District Attorney's office within the criminal building, he will go down a long corridor, up an elevator, and he will go into the actual courtroom, the criminal courtroom, and that is where he and his attorneys will face Judge the Judge Meacham, and what they will do there in that case is he will hear the charges against him. We don't know them yet. They will unseal the indictment. Expected 34 charges. Expected most of them will relate to accusations of business fraud, falsifying records. We don't know yet. But they will unseal the indictment, read the charges to Donald Trump and his lawyers, who will be hearing them for the very first time, and also read his rights to him, what's called in American jurisprudence the Miranda rights, which basically say you have the right to remain silent. I wouldn't bet on that with Donald Trump. Those Miranda rights might go in one ear and out the other, but it's going to be expected to be a quick processing. Quick process. They're going to try to get him in and out of there very quickly and back to Mar-a-Lago in Florida, where he's expected to make his own individual address tonight.
And this is an historic moment, isn't it, in American political history?
And, you asked me that question, and it sounds like we've asked it a million times before, and everyone keeps saying historic moment, but yet it can't be overstated, Annette. You're absolutely right. It is historic proverbially, but actually really historic. There has never been a sitting or a past president who has been indicted on criminal charges. Remember, this is a criminal felony that the prosecutors have put into this indictment, which we will soon know the charges of. What's interesting here is, okay, so America's had, dozens of presidents, and you say, surely some of them have faced legal duress, and it's true. Obviously, the most prominent case being Richard Nixon. He resigns before he could be convicted or brought to trial by the Senate. But what happened next with Nixon is interesting, because why didn't he ever go to trial, right? I mean, he said, I'm not a crook, but the rest of the nation believed he was a crook. He didn't go to trial because his successor, Gerald Ford, pardoned him in September 1974, about a month after Nixon resigned. So he never went to trial, never faced charges, was never a criminal, convicted of any criminal charges. Before that, I don't know, go back to Aaron Burr. I know this is like for your next pub trivia quiz, Annette, right? Aaron Burr was the vice president under Thomas Jefferson from 1801 to 1805. What did Aaron Burr do? He killed Alexander Hamilton, you might know from the Broadway musical, killed Alexander Hamilton in a notorious duel in 1804 while Burr was vice president. What happened with that? Well, Burr rode out his vice presidency. He never actually went to trial. Eventually, all the charges against him were dropped, and he murdered someone. So this is why this is historic, and not to be glib, but you cannot understate the significance of this, no matter where you stand on this indictment, for or against.
Doug Herbert, thank you.